Welcome to Life Coach Live. I'm Tyler Nouwens, and I'm thrilled to be here for another talk with my associate, Paul Heron. How you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Tyler. It's great to be back again. I feel like we're starting to get into the swing of this, and full steam ahead.
Excellent. Yeah. So today, I thought we'd kind of focus on what brought us together and what inspired us to become a life coach. And, the question that I'm kind of mulling over and wanted to discuss today, between you and I, but also something for our audience to listen to and to think about for themselves, is what is your vision as a life coach? And yeah, I think it's a pretty big and important topic. So, what do you think? Do you think it's important vision? And what is your vision, Paul? Do you have one?
Yeah, great question. It's that's something that I would be thinking about very, very regularly, I'd say. It's a really interesting thing for me because it means so many different things. I think whatever we're working towards, I think visualization and putting yourself in that place is really powerful. But when I'm thinking vision, I'm thinking, my ultimate vision. I'm thinking, freedom, financial freedom. I'm thinking health for me and my family. The flexibility to do all the things that we're wanting to do, and from that ultimate vision, we break that down into the various different elements. And vision as a life coach to me would mean how I'm going to create a lifestyle and a business, and how I'm going to be able to meet my needs of contributing back and helping others, and having a successful business that allows me to do that. I just think it's a really powerful question that I'm almost continuously coming back to. How about yourself, Tyler? What does it mean to you?
Oh, yeah, it's I mean, it depends on the context, right? Like you identified different categories, with your family and health and finance and business and giving back. And I think I totally share those things as well. And so when I like to think vision is kind of a bit of an abstract, like you might think of it as something that you're imagining for yourself. And I think I relate to the word vision is like, what do you really want? And why are you really here? What is your real purpose? And, that question, those questions I have been pursuing those questions adamantly since I was actually quite young. And, I think for me, it really is, the question is why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? Like, I think of life as pretty miraculous, and I do feel that there is a higher purpose for each of us in life. And I heard someone a number of years ago say that your first purpose actually is to find your purpose, which I thought is actually quite true. And then once you find your purpose, now you have a new purpose, which is to fulfill it. And depending on what that purpose is, it could be a lifelong journey. Um, so my purpose, I think one of the words you said, Paul, is freedom, and I would say that that's one of the words that I identify with as well. And for me, it's actually not so much financial freedom, although financial freedom is great. I wouldn't say no to it. It's more of a freedom from limitations in my own internal, you know, mental and emotional world. Freedom from, you know, smallness. You know, freedom from uh, not stepping forth and giving selflessly. You know, yeah. So I think that about covers it. But you know, and then one of my visions, Paul, is actually being fulfilled right now with you and I having this conversation. Like, this is something that you know, a year ago I really would wanted to fulfill this vision, and you know, here we are. And you know, obviously it's been your vision too, because you're here, right? Yeah. So.
That's awesome, Tyler. Yeah, and I echo all of those sentiments pretty much exactly. It's you know, it's such a powerful thing to think through. You know, we kind of mentioned vision as being the topic of the day, but I think it ultimately comes back down to our sense of purpose and those really deep questions around why we're here and why we've been given this awesome opportunity to be able to go down this path that we're on. And I'm interested to ask you, Tyler, how vision, and I love that example about the, you know, living out your vision right now. How was that vision that you created about doing this type of thing? How has it helped you take the steps that you needed to take?
Oh gosh. Yeah, you know, I've kind of, in coming up with this question in preparation for our conversation today, I actually, there's a number of steps involved, but the way that I think of vision is it's a little bit, it's a fascinating subject actually, because if vision is something that you want, then it's a certain effect, right? We have a goal for a certain effect. Yet, the vision actually, when you really contemplate it, vision is the seed of the effect, is the cause of the effect. It's the starting point, which is, it's a bit of a paradox, really. So I don't know, that's a bit of an abstract way to answer your question. Yeah. But it's both a cause for you in your life, a driving force in your life, but it's also something out, like ahead of you, that you're, you know, moving towards. So it's inside of you, but it's also fulfilled, it's reflected outside of you. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So this is another question that I thought we could discuss, and I think we've touched on it a little bit already. um, whether or not vision is important. So let me ask you, Paul, how important? I think we both agree it's important, but really in life, in terms of, I mean, you and I are life coaches and we work with clients. How important is it for ourselves to have vision in our life? And do you also feel that it's important with your clients that you work with? And if so, how important?
Another great question, Tyler. Look, it's hugely important. What's coming up for me is the idea that, whatever it is that we want to move towards, if we want to move towards a big goal, if we want to live to our full potential and, really make the most of the time that we have here, the small amount of time we have here, I think it's this sense of vision. To me, when I think of vision, it's coming from the heart almost. It's not something that we're necessarily thinking intellectually about, but it's our body enabling us to visualize forward and think about the full potential that we can reach when we pursue our goals. I'm just thinking out loud now. I don't think I've ever really thought this through, but when it comes time to do our goal setting, potentially maybe that's more of a intellectually making sense of what our vision is.
Right.
Maybe. But it all starts with the vision. I was talking to a client of mine during the week, and we were having a big conversation about goal setting. And one of the things that we need to be doing when we're striving for our goals is to make sure that we are passionate about our goals, and that there is a deep sense of meaning towards our goals. We want to be pushing ourselves to reach the absolute limits of what we think is possible. And I think it is this sense of vision that you've described really well earlier that helps us find, what is truly important to us. What are the things that we're going to sort of put our attention towards and, start hopefully finding a way to turn into reality. And I think our vision and our overall sense of purpose plays a huge part in that whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. What's interesting. Okay. So what I heard you say, there's a couple things you talked about: vision coming from the heart. It's not so much an intellectual thing. Perhaps the goal, the strategy, the action, the plan is a little bit more intellectual. How am I going to fulfill the vision? But what was also very interesting to note is that goals are not your vision. Goals and vision are separate. And this conversation, I know we're moving into kind of the next step, talking about goals, but vision is what you want, and goals. And this is fascinating because you and I have both been in corporate world and business and all that kind of stuff. And so most corporations have a vision and a mission, right? That's kind of one of the core ingredients of kind of a successful corporation, and some corporations invest a lot of time and energy and get the whole organization involved. Like they'll do a workshop and come up with their new unifying vision that everybody kind of, is on the same page with, as kind of this motivating thing for the entire organization to work towards. It's why they show up, hopefully with enthusiasm every day to work, right? Towards it. So, but the goal is more of the mission. Well, what are we going to do in order for that vision to come to fruition, in order for us to fulfill it, what are we going to do? But really the starting point is your vision, isn't it? I mean, that's the primary starting point. Like, what is it I want? Why am I here? Once I have a deep mental, emotional, spiritual connection to that, then it really, and I'm not saying that that's an easy place to arrive at. We'll get into that part later, because it's rare. What I just said it's rare for people, I think, I don't know what you think, to have that deep conviction at a mental, emotional, and spiritual level about what their vision is and about what they want. We all have a vision. We all want, and, but it's kind of, for most people, I think it's kind of in the background. It's not out. There's some people that are very much vision driven, vision oriented. But I think a lot of people, and we talked about this the other day, that, somebody said, that they talk with a lot of people. I think they have a podcast. So I was watching some podcast clip, and the people that were talking the guy says, I have talked to so many people who are, and the word he used was aimless. They're aimless in their life. They don't have a direction. Therefore they don't know what to do. It's like you get kind of stuck, and it's hard it's hard to move forward because you don't know what it is that you want. And so I'm going to hand it back to you, because I could go on here. I was about to let it rip. And,
yeah, this is just such a big topic, and I think you're spot on, Tyler. It is, for us to really achieve worthwhile things in our life, they need to be aimed at our vision, at our idea of what truly is most important to us. And, we're a work in progress. What our vision is might evolve and change over time. But for us to be able to take meaningful action, I think having a closely aligned vision and purpose to enable us to start pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone is essential. I love that you mentioned a podcast there. I was listening to a podcast on the way to the gym just yesterday, and they were talking about a similar topic, and they were talking about as adults, we can get in our own way. But they had the examples. As adults, we can get in our own way. We've got so many different options available to us. There's, what do we decide on what is being most important to us?
it's the overwhelm that we talked about. It's like, if you're not clear on what your vision is, then you don't know what your goals are. And basically, the big problem is, we're gonna move to the next slide here. So the big problem is, if you suffer from a lack of vision, my train of thought just lost here. Then you are distracted because I believe that we are all born with a purpose, and our purpose is to find out what our purpose is, and our mission is to fulfill that purpose. Okay? And if you aren't clear about what your purpose is, the world is feeding you so many agendas, other people, what they want from you, We are constantly being inundated by this stuff. And this is part of the reason why people are confused, because the vision that they're looking for something, and that's part of the reason why we're open and receptive, because we're looking from an external source. Well, maybe so and so has the bit of information that I'm looking for, you know. And what you said earlier, Paul, is that it comes from the heart. It's not, you can't find it externally. I mean, you may find reflections of it, but really those reflections are just an opportunity for you to look inside at yourself, for you to see yourself. And so if you have a lack of vision, then, you know, now the first thing that popped into my mind is Pinocchio. Have you, now, because I don't think I ever watched the Pinocchio movie growing up. I knew the story, right? But then when I had kids, when my kids were little, we were into Disney. And so it was kind of fun. I got to relive my childhood a bit and watch cartoons with them and be a kid. And it was fun. Like, I enjoyed it. You know, my kids are now almost 18 and 16. But Pinocchio was actually a real boy. He was actually a real boy, but he was portrayed as a puppet because people were coming at him and pulling his strings and getting him into trouble, getting him off track. And I don't know if that analogy is a little bit extreme, but when I saw that, I was actually it's quite good. I don't know if you've seen the Pinocchio movie, Paul. We're getting off track here a bit, but
I saw it reasonably recently, probably more for entertainment purposes, but I love it. And I have got a question for you, Tyler. It's, you know, I think sometimes when we can put this huge pressure on ourselves to find our life's vision, do you think we have smaller mini visions along the way to realizing our true vision? And the only reason I'll sorry, I'll let you answer that in a moment, but the story that came up in that podcast I was mentioning was about kids. You know, kids in general, you know, an 18-month-old kid will turn around and see everyone walking around them. They'll see their brothers and sisters doing this thing that they want to be able to do. Right. They develop a sense of vision around, you know, this is what I want to do. For now, at this moment in my life, this is my purpose. I need to get up and start walking. And I think that's a really good example because, you know, when we first start to do anything new, we'll fall over, we'll fail, we'll fall over hundreds of times probably when we're learning to walk. But I think it's that sense of purpose around the thing that we're trying to develop, sense of vision around what success looks like. We know we're not being distracted by anything else. We're just jumping in and doing the thing that we know is required to take us a step further towards our ultimate goal. Just interested to get your thoughts on, you know, are we constantly looking to find our ultimate vision, or do you think there's little mini visions, purpose-filled activities that we can embark on along the way?
Yeah, and you know what I think a simile for vision is a desire. Like, what is it that you want? And a lot of times, you know, a desire will just arise. Like, as you say, when you're a kid, you see, you know, other people walking, and then this inspiration comes. I want to walk. And so, and, you know, oftentimes the part of the reason why people suffer from a lack of vision is because they need to see it being portrayed. They need to see an example, and that's why, kids look up to heroes, or that's why, maybe Tony Robbins, in terms of being a life coach, he's an example, right? And so that's kind of, I think, how people find their vision if they do suffer from a lack of vision. And I'll tell you, just speaking of suffering from a lack of vision, I was probably 20 years old, and I'd already found my career and I was already making good money, but on the inside I was desperate to find out what my purpose was, and I remember it was New Year's Eve, and I didn't have much going on, and the only real option I had was to go with a buddy who knew a girl who was going with her friends to some party where I wouldn't know anybody. And that really didn't appeal to me at all. And oddly enough, because I've thought about this time quite a bit, like, in the previous years on New Year's Eve, I remember maybe the year before, or maybe 2 years before on New Year's Eve, being at a party with all these people that I kind of grew up with. We're all hammered or stoned or whatever we are, and midnight strikes, and everybody is, celebrating and hugging each other and blah, blah, blah. And that moment, Paul, even though I was surrounded with my friends, I felt completely alone. And so, the next year, when I got invited to go with a buddy with girls that we didn't know to a house where I wouldn't know anybody, I thought, well, geez, I'm really going to feel alone. And I didn't want to do that. And and it was really hard for me, but I actually ended up going to a meditation center for New Year's Eve. And it was something that I was familiar with from my childhood, but as a teenager, I was too cool for that. But the truth was, I was actually too concerned with what my friends would think of me and how they judge me if I was into that. So, and that was kind of my breaking away. Like, it was really hard for me to go to that meditation program that night, because the truth was, Paul, I was judging myself for going. I thought, I'm 19 or 20 years old. Why can't I find happiness in getting drunk and partying and sex and all that kind of stuff? And I actually remember, before going to the meditation center, that there must be something seriously wrong with me if I'm going to this place. This is how hard I was judging myself. There must be something seriously wrong with me if I'm going to this meditation center. And I was worried about what other people would think. I actually stopped for a vegetarian pizza at McDonald's, and I was eating it in the parking lot there. And one of my buddies, like a good buddy that I partied with lots, he pulls in right beside me. Hey, Nouwens, what you doing? Like, it's New Year's Eve. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to party with some of my dad's friends, is what I said. So I was introduced to the meditation group as a child with my dad. And it actually had a real profound effect on me, and it actually ignited something. It awakened something in me, and I think that was part of the desperation that I was experiencing as a teenager, because I couldn't find that the happiness that I was supposed to be finding and just to finish this off, Paul, the moment I got there, all the concern started to lift from my shoulders, and I remember sitting down, and it literally felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. And I don't know how conscious I was of this thought, but the first thing I took a breath, I exhaled, and I went, what a relief. I can finally be myself. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to try to portray myself in a certain way, have a certain image, be cool, all that kind of stuff. So that for me was really a turning point in my life. And so just to say, for me personally, yeah, I did. As long as I was ignoring my purpose, my vision, I definitely suffered as a result. And I was doing stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, all because I was trying to find my purpose. It's like looking for love in all the wrong places, like we're all looking for vision. It could be love, it could be freedom, it could be joy, happiness, fulfillment, all that kind of thing. So, and I think I would say, actually, Paul, in my opinion, that the vast, vast majority of suffering in the world, now I'm not talking about physical conditions where people don't have enough food or clean drinking water, or they're living in poverty or something like that. I'm talking about people, they may look like they're okay externally, but internally they're suffering. And that is, I think, becoming more and more predominant. And it's part of the reason why I've wanted to be a life coach, is because I think that, people need support, and they need support to find out who they are. And in fact, I would say that the vision, the purpose, is to really find out who you are. And it's to be authentic. It's for Pinocchio to be authentic, to be a real boy, to find himself. And just to finish that off, it's quite symbolic. He had to jump into the ocean and face the fear and enter into the darkness in order to find his creator, his dad. So, yeah. That was unscripted, Paul.
That was a great story. That you can see that was your authentic self coming through there, which is a really powerful thing to be able to share. And I think you've hit the nail on the head about the link between our vision, our purpose, authenticity. I think if I'm thinking about the struggles that are the common themes that our coaching clients and us as coaches face, is, that struggle to figure out what is most important to us, and then to be able to start taking, meaningful, authentic action in line with who we are. And that's something that's, something we could spend our lifetimes trying to work through some of these goals. But I think for me anyway, it's about getting started. It's about helping our clients get started. And I think the key takeaway from this talk today has been, no matter where you are, you can start to define what that vision question means to you personally.
Yeah. It's a deep subject, and that's probably one of the primary things and places that I want to meet people. So whoever's watching this broadcast or the recording of this broadcast, if it's sometime in the future, finding your vision and finding your purpose and finding who you are is, I think, the foundational piece. It's kind of like the cause or the first part of having a meaningful and purposeful life. And one of the benefits is that when you have a vision that you're inspired by, it helps make your days enthusiastic. Like you've got a higher purpose. You've got a reason for doing what you're doing, and I would say actually, there's a lot of motivational speakers, but I'll tell you, it's great to listen to these motivational speakers and or a podcast or something like that. And while you're listening, you get all fired up, right? You get all gung-ho. And then what happens is the podcast is over, or the weekend, motivational weekend workshop is over. And if you leave that without having done the inner work and really identifying what your vision is, when you leave that environment, a lot of people, I think, they're kind of back into the loop. They're kind of, aimless again. They feel a bit maybe directionless or lost. And so that is really, I think the next step for each of us is to really have clarity around our vision. And so, this is the kind of work that I'm offering, to do this work with whoever sees this video and wants to do this work, to please reach out and just say hi, and be happy to converse with you. I think Paul is the same as me. Yeah. So it'd be great to hear from you. Yeah. If any of this resonates with you, it would be great to hear from you. And so Paul and I, part of our vision is to have more kind of workshops in the very near future, and also next year, where we are doing this type of work with people that want to be life coaches, and it can be other people as well. But the great thing about, if you're a life coach or want to be a life coach, the great thing about doing this work is, once you've gone through the process, then it's a core framework that you will have directly experienced, and you will have seen the benefit and the transformation in your own life. And that will be something that is very likely that you'll be able to facilitate with your clients as a life coach as well, which is, I think, something really valuable. And so, I don't think we have anything planned specifically. We've thrown around some dates for some deeper workshops with with clients, group workshops, Paul, but this is definitely one of the top priorities for me to include in a workshop. And I'm going to post a link to a framework that you can download just to kind of get an overview of how to do this visioning work. And it'll have my contact information, Paul and I's contact information, and you can reach out and touch base with us if it's something you want to talk about as well. So, yeah, Paul, I think we're kind of coming to the end. What are your thoughts on all of this? What's your next step, Paul?
I'm just echoing your comments there, Tyler. I think, for all of us coaches, understanding vision and understanding purpose and understanding the challenges that many of us have around identifying our purpose and starting to live authentically in line with our purpose is a huge part of the coaching process in general. And this is a big part of why we've started doing what we're doing now, Tyler. It's about us, us giving back, us living in line with our vision, and passing on some of the experience and knowledge that we have been able to obtain over the last few years ourselves. Around the workshops, I think look, that's something that I'm massively looking forward to myself. The ability to get in and start doing a bit more of a deep dive into applying some of these strategies. I like what you said earlier around when we go to workshops, when we listen to podcasts, when we go to a Tony Robbins event, even unless we're going to actually take the ideas and lessons that we learn and apply them, we're actually not going to grow at all if we're not going to apply the things that we're learning. And I think that's a big part of what we're wanting to start to move towards, helping people or helping create an environment where we can start applying some of these strategies and really embodying the work and helping people uncover what their vision is.
Absolutely. That's a perfect summary and point. I think it's a great way to end this broadcast, Paul. So I feel great about this conversation we had today, and I look forward to working with you again, I guess next week. We've got a couple of more Life Coach Live broadcasts scheduled, so tune in again. And thank you, Paul, for your presence and your insight and your support and your wisdom.
Thank you, Tyler. Bye for now, and we'll be back soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.